Business Transformation Fireside Chat series with Cisco and Inflow. I'm Simpson and I'm excited to introduce you to this specifically curated series of conversations where we explore top business priorities and the technologies that can help achieve them. In this Fireside Chat, we will talk about customer experience and partner transformation. As we know, customer experience is pivotal to business growth, and partner-driven transformation in customer experience can go a long way in enabling businesses to take the leap into hybrid future. So let's explore how Cisco and Inflow can help enable businesses with flexible solution stack that are fit for future. Today, we're going to hear from Ashok Shivashankar, Director, Services Sales at Cisco, Panish PK, Managing Director, India Channel Sales at Cisco, Pramodh Menon, Managing Director, APJC Distribution at Cisco, and Santosh Sankunny, Vice President, Managing Cisco Business at Inflow Technologies, who will be helping us to moderate the session today. Handing it over to Santosh to kickstart this engaging conversation.
Thank you, Simpson, and welcome back to the Business Transformation Fireside Chat with Cisco and Inflow. So without much ado, let's start with Pramodh. So Pramodh, customer experience or CX, which is the balance we use, is the buzzword. It's going around a lot. Everybody's talking about customer experience. What exactly does this entail, right? What does this mean? And how important is CX for Cisco?
Thank you, Santosh, for the question. Let's start with the X in CX, which is the experience. And usually, as we all know, experience definitely defines engagement and then leads to outcomes. Whether we all do that in our personal lives as consumers, we like the good experience and that will allow us to adopt more. And it's exactly the same in the business context. So if you drive experience, positive experiences for the customer, it's almost guaranteed that you will get the business success you're seeking.
True.
And as we also know that selling to an existing customer and making them successful, getting them the outcomes they're looking for is far more profitable and productive than trying to acquire new customers.
True.
So for Cisco, we have a very large install base. And for us, customer experience and the strategy around it is central to how we allow our customers to derive the most from Cisco technology which they have used,
right,
and maximize the engagement and productivity. And when we do all of that, we know that we could potentially have the customer absorbing more Cisco technology and putting into productive use, and also be very successful with things like renewals.
Right.
So it has multiple objectives. One, the paramount objective being that we make the customer successful, which is what our primary reason to exist is.
True.
And the second, it will also allow us from a business point of view to ensure that we are maximizing our renewal opportunity, customer engagement, and even future success.
Fantastic. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's all about experience now, right? I think that's something which
Absolutely
understands better, and I think the customer is going to come back to you again and again if we can give them a great experience. Right?
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. So Ashok, over to you. So in this whole thing, how important is services transformation, right, with respect to customer experience? Because that's the topic we're discussing. And how does Cisco enable its partners to simplify the renewal pursuits that we have and also increase recurring revenue?
Right, Santosh, multiple aspects to that question. So let me take it one by one. Right?
Sure.
So even without this whole discussion that we are having around transformation, even if you go back 15 years, there were customers who always said, I'm not just buying a product or hardware from you, I'm looking for an outcome,
right,
or I'm looking for a solution, if not an outcome, right?
True.
And so services was always that glue that kind of brought it together and led to that outcome. Current Cisco transformation, if you look at our movement towards recurring software and all of that, look, software is always sold with the promise of an outcome, right? And so what that means is you have to have the right services strategy to make that promise a reality.
Absolutely.
Couple of things that we are doing which are significant in this direction, right? So one, we've started something called lifecycle selling. In essence, what it means is that, when we are thinking about selling a particular use case or an outcome to a customer, we are already aligned right at the start in terms of what that outcome is, how will it come to reality, and who's going to do what. What does the customer do? What does our partner do? What does Cisco do? So that we have a high chance of turning that sale into an actual outcome, which will lead to a better adoption and hence renewal, right? So that's the whole recurring software, so to say, recurring motion that we are driving, and that's why service is so critical. The second aspect of that transformation also is that, our traditional break-fix services, right, in terms of post-sale support, in a software-centric model needs to evolve.
True.
Because you don't have the traditional sense of break-fix as such, right? And so what we are doing is we are looking at building a portfolio of services across the life cycle. Today you may need a certain set, let's say around implementation and deployment. Tomorrow the customers need maybe around adoption. After that, around learning, insight, analytics, a lot of that, right? So that's the direction we are moving in with Success Track specifically, so that at every step of the life cycle, there's the right set of services capabilities that the customer can draw upon. On the final piece that you spoke of around renewals, again, even taking a step before that, our adoption strategy has to be absolutely spot on if we want to become a world-class, high renewal company.
True.
With that in mind, if you ask me, other than the top few accounts where we have a dedicated customer success executive and Cisco is kind of deeply involved, everywhere else we are dependent on partners as far as adoption is concerned.
Sure.
And if you look at our long tail specifically, there is absolutely no reach that we have. We are completely dependent on distributors and partners for adoption and the consequent renewal.
Sure.
And so with that adoption and renewal strategy together, we are investing a lot in terms of making sure that one, the data availability is there. Second, there is early warning or early information available from a renewals perspective. And our distributors such as yourself, you've invested in a digital platform, so to say,
right,
where this whole renewal motion can become automated.
Sure.
And I think borrowing from what Pramodh said, right, it's much easier to retain a customer than, sell to a new one. And renewals that way is critical because a lot of our revenue is now dependent on renewals. It's a lot easier for us to retain the customer. We spend less in terms of cost of sales and obviously higher profitability for Cisco and partners. And that's what we are kind of doing in a nutshell to, bring this whole motion together.
Yeah, fantastic, Ashok. I think you made a couple of important points saying that most of it is going to be dependent on the partner, right? So partner plays a very important role for Cisco in this whole journey, right? That's a very important message. Yeah. So thanks, Ashok. So Panish, this is for you. So partner transformation, again, it's the topic we're talking about, right? In Cisco is aimed at, let's say, delivering experiences, stronger engagement, and greater value. That's what we're trying to achieve, right? So what would be your message to partners as a channel lead for Indian SAG? What would be your messaging to the partners? How do we unlock this value for customers, right? And through this transformative approach, so the partners also become more valuable and to the customer also, right? So what would be your messaging to the partner community?
Thanks, Santosh. I think I'll just pick two things from what Ashok mentioned and what you also mentioned while you were closing your remarks in response to Ashok's statements. One, Ashok talked about outcomes, right? I think today customers don't buy hardware or a software or a service. They're actually buying business outcomes. They're paying for business outcomes. Now, that's one theme I want to dwell upon. And you talked about the importance of partners in the whole scheme of things. So Cisco all along has been a partner first or a partner-led business model, and
True.
we intend to continue to be a partner-led business model. But what has changed in the post-pandemic world is that because there is so much of emphasis on outcomes and ability to deliver outcomes, it has also become quite complex. Partners need to be able to sit with the right stakeholders within the customer ecosystem and understand what are the business imperatives, firstly, that the customers are chasing, and hence what are the associated outcomes related to those business imperatives.
True.
So it is a pretty complex decision also for the customers, considering the plethora of choices they have, and there are so many vendors knocking their doors, and hence I think we are calling this very consciously the age of the partner.
True.
What we mean by that, it is not a a buzzword within Cisco. What we mean by that is that in this increasingly complex world, driven by applications, driven by software, I think the partner has to be the front and center in engaging with the customers,
Sure.
in figuring out their business priorities, and hence designing solutions to deliver the right outcomes.
Sure.
And what has happened with this increased complexity is that there are several buying centers that has emerged within the customer ecosystem.
Right.
Earlier, it would suffice for both the vendor and the partner to sell to the IT side of the customer house. But today, there's the application side, there's the lines of business side. So broadly, if you look at the buying centers, there are three broad buying centers, and all these three buying centers have their own budgets, have their own priorities, and they expect very different outcomes.
True.
And hence from Cisco, our emphasis going forward would be on solution specializations for partners.
Sure.
Every single sale is going to be a multi-architecture solution sale. It is not going
Right.
to be a plain hardware or a hardware plus a layer of software and some services attached to it, but it's going to be an integral combination or a composition of all of this, promising a certain business outcome. So the world is definitely complex and we can't shy away from it. Hence the level of competency, the engagement frameworks that the partners need to devise
Sure.
are of a different magnitude. And our endeavor increasingly would be to enable our partners to become capable to have these conversations with customers and deliver optimal value to the money that they are paying us.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. I think you really covered it well, right? And again, a clear direction to the partners that they have to upgrade and go up the value chain, right? I think that's a very clear message is coming out. Thank you, Pramodh. Thank you, Ashok. Thank you, Panish. I think it's very informative. I really enjoyed hosting all of you. Thank you all for joining us on this series. Now, stay tuned for the next series on this business transformation fireside chat between Cisco and Inflow. Thank you very much.